Hey, what's going on guys? Welcome back to bringing you the Vision video. What I've guessed today are the top 3 best damage and DPS builds in patch 1.8.2. Now they're not going to be regular builds, they're not going to be no classified 6-piece builds or anything like that. These are actually going to be hybrid builds you can make with a Ninjabike backpack. These builds, in my opinion, are great if you are new, if you're returning. They're way easier to make, and obviously, if you are coming back, you're going to get those caches from the rewards vendor where it's pretty much going to give you a lot of gear sets already, like Striker and Defense, Reclaimer, stuff like that. So I'm going to show you guys some builds you can make for damage and DPS, as I said in the beginning, that you can use for PvP and pretty much not struggle as much. I do understand the classified builds are still very good, like Striker and, Banshee and stuff like that. But these are some of the builds that are kind of making a comeback right now. I'm not really sure why, but they are builds a lot of people have been making in this patch, and especially the veterans. I have been seeing a lot of people kind of talk about some Ninjabike backpack builds for PvP and even PvE. So as I said, I'm going to show you guys the best ones in my opinion for damage and DPS. So if you guys enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe for more videos, and let's get right into this. So starting off first, we have one of my favorite builds for PvP, and this is actually a 3-piece Alpha Bridge, 2-piece Banshee, and a Ninjabike backpack build. This build I have been using for freaking ever. I remember when the Ninjabike backpack first got announced that it's going to be pretty much working with the gear sets and it's going to lock a talent. This was one of the first builds I made, and I absolutely love it. It's not the best anymore, and it's not really, crazy overpowered like it was before, but it's still very good, and it's really easy to make, and you get a lot of bonuses from it. So the first thing I'm going to go over is my weapon. I'm obviously using the house with Deadly and Unforgiving. Now the thing is, if you do not have the house, you can still make this build. You can use something like the Navy MP5N, you can use something like the Lightweight M4, LBOAC, stuff like that. But for this build, since I have the house, I'm using it, and as you guys can see, I'm sitting at 21.3k base damage with 23% critical hit chance, and then for my 4th talent, since I have Alpha Bridge, I do have Responsive, and this is a great combination, especially for PvP. Deadly, Unforgiving, and something like Responsive is pretty much the go-to talent, in my opinion. As for the weapon mods, I'm using everything critical hit chance and critical hit damage. This is the only time I'm going to pretty much show you guys this, because for all the other builds, I'm still using the house, I'm using the same weapon, and I'm still rocking the same weapon mods. So if I do not show this in the future of the video, just keep in mind, these are the weapon mods I am using. Moving on to the first thing I do want to talk about is my firearms and stamina on this build. Now as you guys can see, I'm sitting at 6400 firearms and 6400 stamina, give or take. Keep in mind, I can still optimize a lot of my gear and make it a bit better, but for the video purposes, that's what I'm setting at, and honestly, I find this perfect and it being balanced really well. I'm not doing too much damage, and I'm not really too squishy, and I'm not too tanky, and I'm not doing any damage. So with this build and with my kind of playstyle and my liking, 6500 and 6500 is just perfect. It's really up to you guys. If you like having a bit more stamina, if you feel like you're too squishy, obviously roll into stamina, but as I said, if you want to try this out, definitely go 6500 and 65. As for the gear mods, I'm using everything with firearms and critical hit chance. In this patch, I don't really think EDR is that important since Predator's Mark got nerfed, and also the Adrenaline Talent got buffed, so, EDR is still really good, but it's not really the number one thing in my opinion anymore. And also for my prototype mods, I'm using 6% first aid self-heals. I am using a booster shot on this build for the extra damage and extra damage resilience, so I am using first aid self-heal on my gear. Up next, I'm going to go over my gear and what I'm using on it. So for the chest piece, I'm using stamina with EDR, health, ammo capacity. Really simple, that's pretty much what everyone uses on their chest piece. Moving down to the mask, we have firearms, critical hit chance, and burn resistance. Very important to have burn resistance and crit chance on the mask. Moving down to the knee pads, we have stamina, health, disarming resistance, disrupt resistance, and shock resistance. The only thing I'm really missing is burn resistance, but it is what it is. Next up for the backpack, we're using firearms, health, and burn resistance. For the gloves, we're using stamina, SMG damage, critical hit damage, and critical hit chance. The one thing I do want to say is if you are new, if you're returning, using weapon damage on your gloves is a must. I have been getting a lot of comments and questions if I should use, critical hit chance and like enemy armor damage and critical hit damage for my gloves and stuff like that. And my answer is always no. You always want the weapon damage that you're using on your gloves, because now it is a percentage instead of actually being a number. So, just weapon damage is a must. I can't really explain it to you guys better and you know, give you a more reason why. It's just better, 100%, it's been proven, stuff like that. So if you're new, if you don't really know what to use on your gloves, definitely use this setup. And lastly, for my holster, I am using critical hit chance. The final thing I do want to show you guys are my character stats. I always get a lot of comments in my videos and my build videos why I don't really show my character stats, and honestly, I don't know why, but here it is. This is my character stats on this build. So as you guys can see, I'm doing 21.3k base damage, and this is without booster shot, this is without precision being unlocked, and also without a pulse, which is pretty good, you know, especially without being a, you know, a 6-piece classified build or anything like that. For my critical hit chance, I'm sitting at 51%, 113% critical hit damage, 61% headshot damage, and then the final thing I do want to show you guys is my health, which I'm sitting at 351,000, which, as I said in the beginning, it is kind of the perfect kind of balance and fit for me, for my playstyle, and, you know, if you are squishy, whatever the case is, you can always go up in stamina. The next build I do want to go over is my Striker / Banshee build with a Ninjabike backpack. This once again is a very good damage build for PvP and even PvE. This is pretty good, but this build personally is set up for a PvP kind of scenario. So the first thing I'm using is the house once again. I am using the same weapon as I was before, Deadly, Unforgiving, same weapon mods and everything like that. For my secondary, I'm actually using a Lightweight M4. I like having a AR with a striker kind of setup because I can stack my shots a lot better from a distance, and I'm also using Predatory on this, and I do have Responsive and Vicious, and this, as I said, is pretty much to stack my shots and also finish off enemies if, you know, if I'm out of medkits, if I'm out of heals. I have Predatory on it, and it's pretty much going to give me a bit of extra healing. For the gear mods, I'm using everything with stamina and critical hit chance, and really quickly, if you guys need some God Roll stamina and critical hit chance mods, definitely check out the East 31st Street checkpoint in the Dark Zone. He's actually selling some, so if you didn't purchase them already, if you are in need, definitely check out that vendor. Getting back to the video, so for my prototype mods, I'm actually using First Aid, Self-Heal mods. Again, I am using a booster shot on this build, so I'm using this to get pretty much better healing. For the gear pieces, so the first thing we do have is a chest piece. This is Banshee, and what I have on it is firearms, health, EDR, ammo capacity. For the mask, I'm using a striker mask with stamina, critical hit chance, and disarm resistance. Moving down to the knee pads, we have the Banshee knee pads with stamina, health, disarm resistance, disrupt resistance, and shock resistance. Next up, we have the Ninjabike backpack with firearms once again, health, burn resistance. Pretty simple. Down to the gloves, we have firearms, critical hit damage, SMG damage, and critical hit chance. And then, yes, you guessed it correctly, I'm using critical hit chance again on my Striker holster. So this is pretty much my Striker / Banshee damage build for PvP with a hybrid kind of twist to it. As I said, if you guys don't like Striker, if you have trouble stacking this, it is okay, you can use something a little bit different. But if you love using Striker, if you are missing like 1 or 2 pieces and you still want to incorporate Classified Striker into your build, you can just make this and do a lot of damage, as I said. Lastly, we're going to go over the weapon damage and critical hit chance and stuff like that. So I'm sitting at 20.4k weapon damage, 51% critical hit chance, 113% critical hit damage, and then for my max health, I'm sitting at 357,000. As for the skills and the talents, I'm using everything the same on all 3 builds. So the first thing we do have is a booster shot with a immune station, recovery link, and then for the talents, I'm using adrenaline, critical save, strike back, and precision. And keep in mind, I'm using everything the same on all 3 builds. The final build I do want to show you guys is my 3-piece Banshee, 2-piece Predator's Mark, and the Ninjabike backpack build. This in my mind is probably the most popular build out of all 3 of them. This thing freaking melts. I'll tell you guys right now, if you can hit your shots, if you can use your teammates, if you can kind of use the environment to your advantage, this build freaking melts, especially in the Dark Zone. For Last Stand and Skirmish, it's okay, but for the Dark Zone, it absolutely melts. So the first thing I do want to show you guys is the weapon. Obviously, I am using the house again. You guys can use pretty much whatever you have. It can be a Lightweight M4, Navy MP5N, LVOAC, whatever you have, pretty much use it. And then for my secondary, I'm once again using a M4 with Predatory for pretty much, you know, extra healing. For my gear mods, I'm using everything with stamina and critical hit chance again. And then yes, I do have first aid self heals again on this build because I'm using a booster shot. Now for the rolls on my gear, so for the chest piece, I'm using health, exotic damage resilience, ammo capacity with firearms. For the mask, we're using firearms again with critical hit chance, burn resistance. For the knee pads, you guys want to go with stamina, health, disarm resistance, disrupt resistance, and shock resistance. For the backpack, we have the same thing again with firearms, health, and burn resistance. For my gloves, I'm using Protosmart gloves with stamina, SMG damage, critical hit chance, and critical hit damage. And lastly, for the holster, we have critical hit chance again. Now this build, as I said, does a lot of damage, especially for the Dark Zone. This build holds its own, and it's really good against Striker, it's really good against even classified builds. Obviously, if you're getting shot by 15 people, you're gonna die, that's pretty much with any build. But overall, it's a really good build if you don't have classified Striker, if you don't have a lot of classified gear, you can make this build and just use it and hopefully have fun. Keep in mind, you don't have to be using classified gear for these builds, you can use normal gear. Obviously, classifieds are way better, you're going to get better firearms and stamina and stuff like that. But if you are new, if you're returning, making these builds with normal gear is good as well. The final thing I do want to show you guys are my character stats. So for the weapon damage, I'm setting at 21.7k, 51% critical hit chance, 111% critical hit damage, 61% headshot damage, and for my max health, I'm sitting at 356,000. So yeah, that is it for the video. Thank you guys so much for watching. As I said, in my opinion, these are the best damage and DPS builds for PvP with a Ninjabike backpack. If you guys haven't used them already, I would recommend trying them out 100%, see if you like any of these builds. If you're struggling to get kills, if you're struggling to, survive in the Dark Zone, try these builds out and let me know how you like them. But once again, that's it for the video. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to leave a like, subscribe for more videos, and I'll see you guys in the next one.
Trap house.